Then Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 1 matchup between the UTEP Miners and the Oklahoma Sooners. First game of the season for Oklahoma. And they're taking on UTEP, a team that lost in Week 0. They're 0-1 to start off the season after their loss to North Texas. A tough way to start off the season. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Games will be on Saturday, September 3rd in Norman. So Oklahoma's the home team for this matchup, and they're favored by 30. So this is considered you could say a tune-up game for Oklahoma to get started with the season. The Sooners coming in have got a few significant changes. Obviously, the coaching situation. Brent Venables, this is the first game of his coaching era with the Sooners. And, of course, the quarterback situation, that's something that can't be ignored as well. Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams both two different places now. And that leaves Dylan Gabriel, the UCF transfer quarterback, to start for the Sooners. And despite all the changes, Oklahoma is still a team that is widely thought of to be a big contender in the Big 12 and potentially even for the college football playoff. Over-under is 57. FPI is going Oklahoma 98.6%. So, yeah, Sooners are significantly favored in this matchup. The Sooners also lead in the series history 4-0. Win streak is Sooners by 1. The last game was in 2017. Here's your stat comparison for this matchup, looking at both teams from last season. And these are out of all 130 FBS teams. So UTEP, 86th in points per game last season, 47th in points allowed. So defensively, they weren't terrible statistically. They were 42nd in pass yards a game, 93rd in rush yards, and then for yards allowed, in the top 40 in both pass yards allowed and rush yards allowed. 31st for passing and 39th for rushing. As for Oklahoma, 12th in points per game last season. This offense was outstanding at many points last season. When Caleb Williams took over, we already knew that this Oklahoma team was going to be strong offensively going into last season. It looked like Spencer Rattler was going to be the guy to lead Oklahoma to a really good season, but turns out, when you got Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams, two outstanding quarterbacks in the same situation on the same team, it was pretty wild seeing Caleb Williams take over for Spencer Rattler in the middle of the season. But in the end, that's how it went, and both quarterbacks aren't even around anymore. So we got to look forward to this team with Dylan Gabriel taking over the quarterback position. They were 70th in points allowed last season, 43rd in pass yards a game, 45th in rush yards. And then for yards allowed, 113th in passing, 33rd in rushing. So keep watching for this one. UTEP, 7-6 last season. They're 0-1. Lost last week to North Texas in what was a tough game for UTEP. They lost that game by a decent margin, losing that game 31-13. So UTEP is hoping to put up a better performance in this game. Obviously, the way they played last week, they'd be lucky to hold on to this matchup against Oklahoma or even staying close. Gavin Harrison is the starting quarterback. He's got potential. I feel like he's a quarterback that he's got potential to be good this season, or at least lead this team to maybe a bowl game. But when it comes down to it, and you're going up against a brutal Oklahoma defense, it's not going to be so easy. If you look at his stats from last week, he was 21 for 48. Almost 300 yards and 1 touchdown. So that put up some decent passing stats, but he's not a rushing quarterback though either. He's a passing quarterback. He's not dual threat. So, Gavin Harrison, he's a quarterback that I think shows some potential, but in the end, when you're going up against an Oklahoma defense, it's not going to be easy. They got more experience than they did in 2021. This is a more experienced team, but once again, your options are limited once you're going up against Oklahoma. The Sooners, things look very different heading into 2022. Dylan Gabriel starting at quarterback, the UCF transfer, which, Dylan Gabriel in the past, he's never been a huge standout at the quarterback position, but he's got some experience. He put up 3,600 yards in 2019 as his first season. And his passing yards have gone down over the years. Really didn't play a whole lot in 2021, unfortunately. But his completion rate when he played was 69%, almost 68.6 to be exact. His touchdown to interception ratio in 2019 and 2020 was outstanding to say the least. So he does not turn over the ball too much. That is obviously huge. And going into 2022, I think the potential is high for him, and I feel like he's a quarterback that many are sleeping on. So keep an eye on Dylan Gabriel going into this season. Oklahoma, of course, also with recruiting being outstanding, this team has got plenty of depth, and the Brent Venables era begins here in this matchup. So definitely intriguing matchup for that reason there, with Venables taking over. That said, let's get to the prediction here for UTEP and Oklahoma matchup coming up here in Week 1. No surprise here, I'm taking Oklahoma, but I am taking them in a blowout here. 52-10 is my predicted final score. I just think in the end, Oklahoma's offense, they're going to take over. They're going to win this game, and they're going to start fast. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a 28-3 or even a 35 score. I mean, I could definitely see 35 points being put up by Oklahoma in the first half here. I just think, I mean, based on, we also have seen UTEP play this season, so it's easier to predict this game. I mean, UTEP, just to say the least, looks sloppy in the Week 0 matchup against North Texas, so they're not in the best spots. So I'm going to go Oklahoma here 52-10. Probability 90% towards Oklahoma. Honestly, you can make that more like 95%. Over-unders 57. I'll take the over for this matchup and the Sooners to cover the spread in the end. So that said, it's going to wrap it up for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.